games and gamers together now have the sheer magnitude to be a significant unifying force for the world.
If I'm to choose between a greater and lesser evil, I'd rather not choose at all.
You were almost a jibble sandwich.
Did I ever tell you the definition of insanity?
Be better.
Check this out.
Hello, and welcome everyone to the 336th episode of the Hungry Gamers podcast. We're coming at you live from the PAX Australia 2023 show floor from the Audio Technica booth here. It is the sexiest booth in town, and they also have the sexiest range of audio-based equipment to upgrade your headphone, microphone, in-ear or over-ear gaming headset or turntable to game today. At the Audio Technica booth, if you can hear us live, they're doing sweet deals on the stand. But if you're not hearing us live, head over to audio-technica.com to get yourself the best in audio-based equipment. And also, talking about the best, you can also get the best video game and pop culture merch over at shop8bit.net. We have the sexiest video game and pop culture collabs in the land, so shop8bit.net as well. But yes, I'm your extremely humble host, Brendan White. You can find me on them socials everywhere at Brendan8bits. And as you heard in the drop there, we're coming to you live from PAX Australia 2023. So I thought we'd do a little bit of a recap, but also do things a little different. Everyone is doing PAX recaps, the best, the worst, and everything else in between. But we thought we'd sort of look at it from a few different angles, because we've got not only a panelist or a panel organizer here on the show floor here with me, we've also got an audio engineer from our beloved Audio Technica as well representing. So I thought we'd sort of look at it from a few different lenses. I guess I better introduce them. To make it easier, they are both named Matt. So we've got my good friend Matt Tilby, who's going to be joining me all month long on the Hungry Gamers, who can be found at It's Tilby on the socials. And Matt, I don't know if you want me to share your social. I didn't preface that at the beginning, but you can find him at PAX Australia right now. But outside of that, it's a mystery. But he's doing great things always. So Matt, thank you so much for joining me here. How the bloody hell are you?
Doing very well. It's good to be, I guess, back in the Hungry Gamers hot seat. It's been a couple of years since I'd shared the seat with you for a little bit. So obviously, it was throughout the pandemic, so it was not a particularly fun time. Yeah, yep. But look, here at PAX, it's been a busy weekend for us all, and recapping it all with some of the best in the biz. Yeah, it's been 3 days of fun and debauchery and everything else in between. But we're here on a Sunday. It's a little bit of a slower Sunday, a little bit of a more quieter, calm, relaxed Sunday. Maybe some sore heads, but some full hearts, I think. And I'm looking over at Matt, our engineering aficionado, and his heart is so full, I think it's overflowing, because the smiles and the good times is permeating on his face for the audio-based listeners. How are you doing, good sir?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good.
It's Sunday afternoon.
After a couple of.
I think I've been here since Tuesday. I started turning up on site.
So Sunday afternoon. After that, it feels really good to sort of have a good show and be at the end of.
Yeah, as you say,
really nice to see everyone. So big full hearts from a couple of days of really nice social interaction.
Exactly, and I guess you sort of led me in without sort of knowing to lead me in, and I think that's a good place we can start. Instead of just sort of talking about the here and now, maybe we start to talk about the journey to PAX, because we've got someone that's in Mr. Tilby here who's ran a panel and the work that goes into that, and on yourself as well, running a booth, creating these experiences. Like, this isn't just a rock up on a Friday morning and it's all happened, like you clicked your fingers and magic has occurred. This is a long journey, it's a painful journey, it's a stressful journey. Maybe we can sort of unpack that a little bit. I'm looking at you first, Matt, with the long hair and the beard. So maybe you can sort of, I guess, disclose some of that hard work and effort that goes into making this Audio Technica magic happen here. Because, it's not just a one and done, you roll in on the Friday. Like you said, you've been here from Tuesday onwards. But
almost the whole week,
But this journey took place months and months ago. Like, this isn't just PAX is coming up next month, let's make it happen. This is months and months and hours and many tears and many beads of sweat worth of planning to make it so. So, do you want to share a little bit of insight on that?
I will start off by saying, because I'm from the technical side of stuff, my role is definitely more of a support of essentially what do the marketing team want to do, and I'll just sort of help make them happen. So shout out to Matt, the other Matt from Audio Technica. So hopefully we get him in, because his insight for this long-term run, the amount of work he does in the back end to kind of make this happen and get this up and running, because obviously it's a marketing thing, it's a brand promotional type thing. We had the advantage this year that we have a slightly bigger stand than what we had last year, so there's a bit of a play around having to build a bit extra stuff, have a bit of extra stuff on the stand, but from sort of a technical side of things, the booth here, same sort of build we had last year, so kind of make it a little bit easier for what we knew we were going into. Definitely last year there was a lot of we've got this space, what are we going to do with it, what are our options? Huge props to the other Matt, because he gives me a lot of free rein on how I do things in here.
I think even like, as you sort of said, like looking at what happened last year, obviously a lot of people coming back after COVID, and I think people were sort of like dipping their toes into the water, being like, what can we do with this space? Is it going to be viable for us to do this again after such a long, 2 years out essentially? And it's people being like, okay, this can work again, and it's not just like Audio Technica and some of the like even the indies, but like even the big companies again coming back after so long and sort of using it as like that litmus test of being like, we can run this again. Now we can sort of start spreading our wings a little bit more and getting back to more of that normalcy that places like PAX gets to experience.
And I heard it's great that it is very much a if it ain't broke, don't fix it concept here on the booth, on the I guess the stand in general, not just here in the podcast booth, but it's spaced really well, it's welcoming, it's open, it's got a clear message, a clear vision, and the podcast booth we're in right now, it's fantastic, it's nice and spread out, it's comfortable. I did hear that there was a couple of ideas that sort of got nipped in the bud pretty early. I heard there was options for like a build your own sort of soft serve Sunday bar that they were toying with for a little while.
They weren't super open to my suggestions.
Yeah. I'm sad to hear that the stripper pole was sort of squashed pretty quickly. OH&S for both of those reasons.
The indoor pool, it was just nipped in the bud so quickly. It was just a shame.
Yeah, jelly wrestling.
Weren't super open to the hot tub streams on stand.
Yeah, that's a little risque.
Yeah, that was definitely the thing that shut down really early. This year things we changed. The door opens inwards this year. Real subtle change, but a bit more welcoming.
It's smart. It's essential.
Yeah, real subtle changes. But it's I think this year we. As you say, last year was definitely a massive test of, what's the industry like, what does it look like? And I think maybe in the last years when we had a chat, a lot of the podcasts from last year were all about like, hey, back. This is huge. Like the big thing last year was a lot of the big AAA games weren't here. It was all about the indies. Everyone kind of really caught onto that really well. I think this year has been very much the same, but I think everyone's kind of going, oh, cool, this is back. Those shim from the panelist side as well, that you're kind of going, oh, we can, okay, kind of less tentative. Okay, let's commit to stuff because we know it's going to work out. There's going to be people here. People are going to attend. It's not going to be a flop.
Yeah, definitely. I think like even on my side, my panel was at like 6:00 on the Saturday night for people who are listening on the podcast. Like that's like prime dinner, like just after the normal, I guess panel floor closes. So normally people are sort of filing out and doing their own thing after the hustle and bustle of the day. So normally people who are going to those sorts of panels are like you'd have a reason to go to those sorts of panels and. Like if there's a guest that you wanted to see or a friend or that sort of thing, like you have a reason to go there, and it's not so much just like filling time and just going to something that's on. So it's a little bit different for, I guess, people who are doing those panels after the store floor sort of like closes. But yeah, it's definitely proof that we can sort of, I guess, expand on ideas and have a little bit more of a fun time with it and really sort of take it to places where really we couldn't do that sort of thing last year. Like I was definitely came last minute last year and didn't really have too many ideas. And now that I'm able to have that sort of time to plan and organize things and think of ideas, like there's definitely a better option and sort of a better way forward for that.
Yeah, for sure. And on that sort of panel front and even just PAX in general, like everyone knows the show floor, it's 10 to 6, give or take with the timing day by day.
Yeah.
But maybe for listeners or panel and convention goers, they don't know that there's so much more outside of that where these panels can go on until like 10, 11 p.m. of an evening. There's so many things to do outside of those, in air quotes, business hours of exhibition hall floor.
Like I knew that like you'd have panels that go to like 9 o'clock and that's fine. Like I heard this year, panels were going until like 11 o'clock, 11:30, and I was like, that's new for me. And that's probably that thing again of like being able to expand to those times and just flesh things out a little bit more. But yeah, like they're going really hard with the panels this year, and I was pleasantly surprised.
It's good to see because the show floor is great. Like there is a lot to see and do and consume and get overwhelmed by, but you do need those time-out segments in your day or your night, because being on this show floor for 8 odd hours would be very exhausting, very stressful. So being able to sort of just kick your feet up, literally sitting in a chair in an expo hall or in one of the theaters to sort of watch a panel of something that you may be heavily invested in, or maybe you just stumble past it, sound like a cool idea. So it's kind of great that you can sort of chop and change your day hour by hour and get all these new and unique experiences thrown at you from every part of that sort of pop culture universe. And I guess sort of narrowing that lens back into that panel discussion, like mentioned at the drop, you hosted a panel last night. Mm-hmm. What goes into that? Like this isn't like what we're talking with Matt regarding the booth and the AT concepts. Like this is something that you didn't just think about last minute and threw it together. Like there's a lot of timing and planning that goes into getting this done. There's a pre-approval process. So how do you come up with a concept that's going to be unique enough to get your eyes, get it in the eyes of Reed Pop who look after PAX here, but also that's accessible enough for people to come check it out? Like, is there a sort of fine line where you need something that's going to have some pop and sizzle to go, shit, that's new, that could be cool, but not too new and cool that it alienates people and maybe scares people off going, whoa, that's too out there.
Yeah.
I can't commit an hour to come in and watch whatever madness is going to ensue on stage.
Yeah, it full disclosure for everyone. My panel last night was basically just a live podcast episode, so probably not the best example, but having, done like Mario Tennis tournaments in the past and, getting everyone involved with that, it's a lot of like moving parts, mostly just keeping track of, trying to get people recruited and even yourself, you've been a part of these tournaments in the past, and you'll know like you have to be there at a certain time, and special guests have to do certain things, and more often than not, it's basically just trying to get your foot in the door with these sorts of ideas. And once you've got everything sort of set up, it's putting it to Reed Pop and getting those sorts of ideas out there. And sometimes they may say yes, and sometimes like I've had a couple that weren't, I guess, accepted. But in the long run, it's very much a learning experience of like trying to organize that sort of stuff on your own, because for someone like myself who's just doing podcasting for a bit of a hobby, a bit of a passion, there's no one else to help you out with it. You've got to hunker down. You've got to do the work yourself if you want to get that sort of stuff done. And really, it's not until the end, like after you've finished and everyone's packing up everything, when you sort of start to look back at it and go, that was all worth it.
Have you found, like with the panel, and you just mentioned it's sort of just a glorified live podcast, but having it in that live environment, having a crowd reacting positively, negatively, everywhere else in between, do you find yourself sort of subconsciously pivoting though? Like if you're getting more interest from the crowd or even the guest or the panel participants, you sort of jump off script, or did you sort of in your mind just go, nah, this is beginning, middle, end, that's the journey we're going to go on? Or did you sort of keep it open and a bit free flowing depending on where the story takes you, where the crowd takes you and the energy?
We definitely had, I guess, sort of segments, and I normally like to do that for my podcast anyway, just to keep things nice and flowing. And that's that ADHD brain in me sort of keeping things segmented and sort of to a script almost. But there was definitely a lot more of an allowance during the panel, because we had a full hour, whereas my episodes normally are sort of like 45 to 55 minutes. We get that sort of openness and a little bit more of a freedom to, I guess, express ourselves and just have a bit more fun with it. And I think, like you sort of mentioned, the live aspect of the crowd, like having never really done an episode in person. Like I've done a couple here at the booth, and those are a little bit more different. But this is definitely something where, and I mean, in the crowd was only sort of like 25, 30 people. So it was a very sort of small...
It's an intimate feel.
Intimate, yeah, it's a great word.
But did that make... Did that make your delivery and your flow different? Like obviously being in a recording environment like at home, it's a safe, it's a familiar environment, it's a controlled environment where in a live scenario in a theater room, yeah, there is a lot of variables and a lot of other wrinkles that can be thrown at you that you can encounter. But did you feel it was still right in line with what you've done in the previous 27 or so episodes you've done with One Perfect Game, or was this, you feel like if you listen to this in comparison to the rest of your back catalogue, it's going to stand out?
I mean, it feels like it was more open. I think being in a live setting with a guest this time, I think allows, like, obviously when you're interviewing people through like a Discord or something, when you're doing the normal sort of episodes, there's obviously a bit of a delay, and normally I like to keep it very much just like Q&A, keep it as on topic as possible. It gave us that freedom just to be a little bit more open, and I think that really sort of helped. And I would like to think, obviously I haven't checked the audio yet, fingers crossed, knock on wood, that it's all fine and dandy, but yeah, it just allowed me to be a little bit more open, and especially for the crowd that was there, like we were able to sort of connect with them in a way that you can't really get with a traditional episode. And
I think that word connect is perfect. That's what this event is about. That's what PAX is about for me. I think it's all about connecting with friends, whether they be old and new, connecting with brands, connecting with products. PAX is a good connector. It's a good hub. It's a good melting pot for everybody from every walk of life to get together, experience new things, experience new people, and walk away from it with the memories. Like, yep, we've got so many products and games and things on the show floor, but when we look back on PAX 2023 in 1 year time, 2 year time, 3 year time, people aren't going to go, I remember had such a good time playing Super Mario Wonder for 12 minutes. It's going to be like, remember that time we were at that bar and you pissed your pants, or you did this funny thing or this embarrassing thing.
I can't believe you did that. Yeah. Just wild.
You said you weren't going to bring that up.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know what? I didn't name and shame directly. I left that open to, like, it's one of two Matts here that could have soiled themselves. But you know what? Bladder control is a real thing, listeners. And if you do feel that loosening up a little bit, go see your GP, get that under control, because there isn't much worse than soiling yourself.
Yeah.
And I guess on that negative train of thought, like, what do you think? Like, we can get into the highs. I think it'd be good to end on some of on the high points of PAX, and maybe some tips and tricks for people to consider from all layers of PAX, whether it be from an exhibitor standpoint, media, content creator, panelist, or just general admission. What's some of the low points? Like walking around, we don't want to sling mud. We don't want to say Reed Pop, you're the worst, or PAX, you're the worst. But like, what do you think they could genuinely improve on from an overall show perspective to make it a better experience for everybody involved, from exhibitor all the way through to general public?
I mean, on my side of things, I genuinely think even when you're walking through the front door, the marshalling, especially when you're coming through within like the first hour of the day, needs a bit of work. I came in yesterday at around sort of like 10:30, 11 o'clock, and they were still filing people out the door, and it was like down into the park basically, and then obviously having it just rained, mud everywhere, huge mess. So I think like being able to sort of organize people to get into the actual show floor is probably something they could work on. Having like, going to put you on blast, Brendan, we managed to just walk straight through on the pick up a badge side when everyone else was filing through on the big line. So a little bit of organizational things here and there, and I mean, especially on the panel last night, being told, it's plug and play if you want to record your audio. So bring your laptop with the recording software, and then they had to sort of like figure out what to do with it, and all these sort of things. Like, clearly the techs weren't given the same sort of information on that sort of thing. So yeah, like there's a few subtle things here and there, but
just saw a manic Pikachu licking the windows out there. It was a time.
Yeah, look, that's part and parcel of PAX. I think especially this year, like the people in full garb and inflatable Pikachus, the dancing stormtroopers were a highlight for I think a lot of people.
Yeah. He's back. He's back to lick a few more windows. I love this. But from like an exhibitor standpoint, Matty, like what do you think they could do? Like, one thing I will appreciate, and it can be a strategic decision and also a business decision, because I know that there's like 25 to 30% less vendors or exhibitors here from last year, so the show floor is a lot more open. The booths are a lot more open, so it feels a little less claustrophobic and stressful and stinky and people invading your personal space. But from from a long-term exhibitor, like AT have been here for many, many moons. Like this is the 10th year of PAX now, and from what I understand, AT have been here for a large portion of that run. What do you think from an exhibitor standpoint? And I know you're not like talking on behalf of AT, but like just looking from that side, what do you think that they could sort of work on to make this a better experience for yourselves or people involved?
Yeah, I don't know if it's so much from them in particular. Like, I don't interact with them. Like I said, I don't do any of the interactions with them. But I think it is this thing of I think maybe because they're fighting some of the not having some of the bigger groups here, like sort of bigger brands and stuff like that. You can see it on a few of them. There's a few like people have a bit more space on there. Like the stands, I think they're a little bit bigger this year for the majority of people. So there's no real closed off. There's not a lot of real closed off stands, and even the ones that have a bit of a wall around the outside are still really open on the inside. So I think that's where it's kind of getting this sort of like sparse vibe. But I don't know where it comes from because like I think they're also fighting the fact that on the back of COVID, I think a lot of places sort of went, we don't need to do physical shows to kind of still make
that digital shift is very real, and it's an easier way to get your message out. It's a more controlled message, and it's a cleaner and more concise message. And instead of hoping for people to buy tickets and see it here, you broadcast it out to the internet, and you get millions of eyes on it, guaranteed. As opposed to, I guess, a bit of risk and reward here, where like Tekken 8 is here to play, which is one of the largest games to come out in the next 6 months. There's no signage around anywhere. I only found out that it was here by accident.
Right down the back end,
And I know there's probably some booth scheduling. They were umming and ahhing if they're going to get a build that's playable. And I know there's a lot of semantics and moving pieces, but like the fact that you've got such a big game here that's getting no coverage, I feel Repop can do better in that regard. Like even walking through the concourse, there's no real signage up about go to booth XYZ123 to play this or buy this thing because it's on sale. Like I think maybe some rotating digital signage out there could be a good way to get some return on investment for all the exhibitors.
They definitely did like mention it on social media, being like, here's the first time to play Tekken 8 in Australia, and then it was like once or twice they would probably mention it, and that's it.
See, I didn't see that at all.
Yeah, so
I didn't see that at all.
It's genuinely like, if you've got something big, like obviously the big, Nintendo and Sega are obviously going to get, right of way because they're bringing something new to the table. But it's like, like you said, Tekken 8 is a big game, not just here, but internationally. So I think having all this marketing for it and then either just saying it once or twice and then putting it right up the back of the show floor doesn't really give a good indication of how much attention you're paying to it.
Yeah.
On your point as well, like, I think one of the bigger things as well is just sort of like location for the booth for AT as well. Like I've done a couple of these sort of shows in the past, live shows with Brendan and others. And it's always about sort of like how close you are to the people screaming out for free gear. And like, I don't know if people can hear it on our broadcast, but like there's a DJ like literally probably like 10, 20 meters away from us. You might be able to hear it, but it's like that sort of stuff, just being able to, get to a good spot, and especially with audio being so important, like it must be kind of frustrating in that regard, trying to do all of this stuff with all of that extra noise and sort of distractions in the way.
Yeah, I think the interesting one is because of the noise aspect. Like we as a group, we've discussed the options of like doing an off-site thing.
Okay.
And going, cool. Do we just kind of do similar pop-ups of podcast space, but not on the show floor? But from a marketing perspective, we kind of have to be here. Like, once you take it out of here, just like, okay, cool. It ends up falling into the shift of panelist type thing, where here is the fishbowl of entertainment for people to walk past and check it out, and sort of showmanship type thing. The noise one's really interesting. The noise one's really interesting. And I remember the first one that I did here. Like, so I come from live sound and production and things like that. So I've done live sound and production trade shows, and these are so much noisier. These are people who do it for a career of making noise and making things sound good, that sort of thing. But I think it's everyone on those shows kind of goes, we might play music for like a minute, but that's all we're ever going to do, because everyone could do it in a much larger capacity than what's here. And I think that's the thing of just like, I don't think that's a big issue for the show. Like, it's just kind of hard for us that I don't know how much stands are saying, hey, we will have noise and we won't have noise. So when they're kind of arranging spaces, they go, oh, actually, let's not put Audio Technica next to the stand that has noise, because I don't know how much people are declaring like, oh, by the way, we're going to chuck up some speakers.
Yeah, we're going to have the guy in the Daft Punk suit playing one more time, like for hours on end.
15 minutes.
Which is just a lie, because it should just be one more time. Like,
exactly.
It's 20 more times.
But I think that's from their perspective. Like coming into this, I think 2018 was first. I can't remember. But I remember it was a real culture shock for me. Going, oh, this is quite loud here. This is a lot going on. And then, but I don't sort of put it back to them of going, hey, you should move us to a quieter space, because as you say though, the noise like being next to sort of the Red Bull thing, that has a line of things. Think aftershocks there, rogs there, like people are grouping on those. Like for us, it's kind of the thing of like, we would like it quieter for the studio environment, but it's so much better for the brand. And the whole purpose we're here is the marketing side of things as well. And like, so this is a nice thing to add into it. But you kind of take those and everyone's kind of like, oh, this is a live podcast on the show floor, and it's better than what it is out there.
Yeah, and that's it. Like it, even though I can hear Sean Paul on loop just outside the booth here. Yeah. When the listeners are playing back this episode of THG or whatever other podcast they're consuming from PAX, the audio quality is still going to be fantastic, because these 2040s, fantastic price point, fantastic audio quality out of these bad boys with minimal tweaking. So we can compete with Asus throwing 1,000 mouse pads out and the crowd going crazy, or Sean Paul talking about being the papa and someone being the mum, and all that kind of nonsense. So yeah, there's flexibility here where you don't want to close off the booth too much, because you lose that energy, you lose that atmosphere. Yeah. And like you said too, is even though you're right in the middle of this noise box, almost not as in the booth here, but like we're surrounded by these hype men and hype women throwing free promo and contra out to everybody. The pull through that you guys can get from that, because they're always around the booth and they're like, oh, that AT headset looks pretty sick. I'm going to go check that out. Or I need to upgrade my wireless games. I'm going to check out those M50X BT2s, and then they chuck them on. But if we were sort of back in the back corner, they might not have seen them, because you're isolated from the Sean Paulathon going on there at Aftershock. So it is a fine line where the noise can be a hindrance to just, I guess, the human ear, but the pull through for sales and potential brand awareness, like you said, the marketing side of it goes hand in glove in a way. It's almost like you got to grit your teeth and deal with Sean Paul and Daft Punk and whatever else to get to those new potential fans of the brand.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And as you say, like the Tekken 8 being tucked away, I only know, like, mind you, I don't spend a lot of time on the show floor at these things anyway, but I only know it was here because somebody mentioned it in the podcast. Like I'm not on socials much during this week. I'm generally not really on my phone much this week anyway. Like, I think coming back to the earlier thing of like, what are sort of the downside of interactions and stuff like that for people who are curious about that sort of thing. Like, I think the build times and the times that people are here, I think that a lot of people don't kind of know. Like as I said, I've been like, so Tuesday. I said I was here. It was a couple of hours to get sort of the groundwork done to get stuff in here. Wednesday was a pretty big day on the stand. Thursday was massive to kind of close it all off. But like that sort of stuff, I know I'm like we have a much closer relationship with the guys that we use for stand building, because we're physically here the whole time. We do a lot more hand holding, I think, than a lot of other brands do. So like that is on us. We kind of take a lot of pride in what we do here, and we want to just make sure it's done well. We don't want to turn up on Thursday morning. All right, cool. Let's go. We're done our bit for the day. All right, we're just going to plug some things in. Let's go. Like, we kind of want to make sure it's done right. We want to make it easy for them, because we're doing some very specific things here. So we'll just do a lot of the little fine touches for these guys and help them out. But I think that's a big part that I don't know how much people are aware of. Even we had one of our staff members come down, and sort of her comment was, she was like, oh, there's an entire industry of people here before the industry of PAX turns up. Like there's the guys who are going to put everything in the air. There's all the riggers, there's stand builders. The stand builders build stands. Like that's what they do for just trade show after trade show. It's an entire other industry, I think, that sort of I've been around for trade shows for a while now, so sort of across it quite a bit. But I think that's definitely something that is a bit like, hey, this is to fully understand what goes into the background here. There is an entire industry of people carrying this through.
Gets underappreciated.
Yeah, and it just is a total unknown. It's most support industries anyway. Like, there's an entire infrastructure of people who have to make this stuff happen. And I know that there's a really strong PAX team. Like, I think the Enforcers are one that at least are in our faces and stuff like that here. But the amount of work that these guys are putting in to kind of just make our show good. I think the marshalling's a good comment there as well, because like, it's the sheer numbers. Like, it's this thing of like kind of being prepped for, hey, you are going to have tens of thousands of people turning up here. What are you going to do with that? And sort of like even before someone of like the enforcer's job must be like just two sides of like just any marshalling in general, because you're like, hey, you get to be a part of this, and it's a really fun thing. But then like, how often do you run into people who are just an absolute nightmare to be with? Like, who just like don't want to deal with authority, and you're just like, whatever. I just want to do my job.
And that's the thing. Like, it's those 1% that leave that bad mark, that bad stain, where the vast majority of people, from an exhibitor standpoint, from a content creator standpoint, from a general admission standpoint, they're all great, but there is that 1% that is just a turd on this space, and the talking point or the sticking point that people could either come away from PAX with the best time or the worst time based off that one interaction or that one situation they were directly or indirectly part of. So yeah, my heart goes out to everybody involved, because there's a lot of ingredients to go into the PAX cake, that's for sure. It's not just, you roll up Friday, you roll out Sunday. No matter what your level of involvement is in, there's so many moving parts. Like, from a general punter or a general admission standpoint, or even exhibitor standpoint, it's like making sure there's accommodation, because obviously everyone coming to PAX, the timing is there's less Airbnbs, there's less hotels, so that stress is an added layer. Getting around PAX is an added layer of stress. Making sure that you've got the appropriate clothing for the Melbourne weather that changes 5 times in a day. Making sure that you're sufficiently deodorized and things like that is a big thing. Comfortable shoes, staying hydrated. Like, there's so many things that people need to be mindful of, whether they're a PAX veteran, they're a first-timer, a 10-timer, whatever it might be, that you just need to have in the back of your mind, because it's not just roll up, enjoy, roll out. There's so many parts to this Swiss Army knife that could potentially cut you if you're playing around with it the wrong way. So my heart goes out to everybody that's involved, whether it be enforcers, like you said. Like, it's a thankless job. It's a volunteer job. Like, these people are putting their time into this for abuse sometimes, which, like, if that was me and that happened to me once, I'm like, fuck this, I'm never doing this again. And I now probably don't like PAX because this one person's ruined my great image and my great memories I have of this show because they abused me for whatever reason. So shout out to the enforcers, because I don't think they get enough love or respect, because all you hear is like, once 6 o'clock rolls and the show floor is shut, and they're like, everyone get out unless you got an exhibitor badge, and they're, oh yeah, you dickhead. And it's like, no, they're doing their job to make sure this place stays safe and you stay safe and the exhibitors stay safe. Like, they're doing the right thing, but because you're having this negative aspect applied to you where you have to leave even though it's closed, it frustrates me, because they don't get enough love. All I see is them, like, people eye rolling at them, or talking under their breath towards them. It's like, man, they're here to help you have a better time. So take a second to appreciate that and respect that.
Yeah, and I think as well, like, even for people who, like you said, who come in on the Friday and leave on the Sunday or Monday, whatever it is, like, and it's just like a holiday for them. And I don't think people truly realize that this is a year-round sort of job for them. Like, Reed Pop or I think it's RX now, I think they're called, but like, there's a lot of organization that people don't see behind the scenes, and like, having friends who've worked for the company and sort of seeing how overly, stressed they are when it comes to like 2 to 3 months time before PAX, and they're like, I'm up until like 12 a.m. organizing all of this, and stands and organization and the panels and things like that. It is a thankless job, and you hit the nail right in the head. Like, it could be a whole number of things, but it's just making sure that everyone has that perfect time and is able to come away with those sorts of memories, even if they're only here for 1 day or 3 days. And it's just getting everything sort of set up, I guess.
Yeah, and on that phrase, perfect time, what would you guys... We're all sort of looking at this from very different lenses as far as our involvement in PAX this year. What would you say to listeners here to have a perfect time for PAX 2024? I might throw it over to the engineer to the stars first and sort of see what kind of general feedback or advice you'd want to share for people, whether they're returning to PAX, it's the first time for PAX. What would you recommend for them to be mindful of to ensure they can have the best PAX experience?
I think the number one thing I reckon is multi-day. I think that's a big one of like if A can afford the time and ticket, like try to get at least the 2 day. I see a lot of people scrambling on a single day ticket. That would be my recommendation. I'm sure that people come in for a single day this year for the first time and gone, oh, this is bigger than
it's a lot.
It's huge. This is like I say that I come from other trade shows, but like sort of other ones I've done. Let's say I think I did one here in Melbourne. Then I was back here like a month or so later for PAX. But the one I was here for, I think we had like four halls of this stretch of however many 7, 8. Like we had half this whole thing. And the first time I turned up, I was like, oh, okay. You guys have an entire hall just for the queue. Like a quarter of our entire show was what you're using just for the queue. Like this is just sheer quantity, sheer size, and like you get caught up with the pretty flashy lights here, but then you've got the entire role-play and tabletop section, which is an absolute vibe. I couldn't get over how good that was, and I went through there last night because here closes at 6, and it's the only opportunity I get to go through there. So I went through across, I had to wander through, and just like pretty much every table was full of people playing. Like I couldn't get over how like every year it's so good to have in there. So it's time. Like even the advantage is spend the time in the fancy stuff, but you're going to spend so much time in lines. Like you can see the tape markings online. Some of them are like, hey, if you're here 2 hours until you're going to do this, and it's like you're going to if you're here to want to have a go at some of the games, then you're going to burn time just standing around and waiting. So that would be my main suggestion. That's what I see here. Sort of come through. Like I said, don't deal with it a lot, but I definitely would recommend 2 days. At least if you can. Like all circumstances allowing, I think it's the best way to sort of enjoy it. I suppose. I don't know how much you guys are.
Yeah, I agree. You got to practice patience with events and expos, no matter whether it be PAX or brand XYZ or whatever you're seeing. Like there is going to be mass amounts of people around. It will be stressful. You will be queuing for things often. So make sure you've got comfortable footwear. Make sure you've got deodorant on. And if you've got something to kill time, whether it be a handheld or make sure you've got a power bank handy for your phone, because there's going to be time when, like Matt just said, you'll be queued up to play the next game and you can spend 2+ hours in the line to get 10 minutes in it. So start weighing up if that is what you need to do, because a lot of the time, yeah, you could be the biggest Mario fan in the world, but like Mario Wonder, queuing up for 2 hours for 10 minutes, even though the game comes out in 2 weeks, I'm just like, I could use my time better by looking at the indies, or like you said, in the tabletop and roleplay area, where I can get direct touch with many things in half the time and have a more fuller experience. So yeah, I think practice patience, and if you can get a multi-day pass, definitely. And also on that front, like look at that Friday day as a good one if you can get the day off, because it's typically the quietest day of the 3, so you might have more time to see and do more things and spend less time in those queues. Yeah. What say you, Mr. Tilby?
I mean, you pretty much hit it right on the head. Like, being able to pace yourself, obviously if you've got like a 2 or even 3 day pass, and being able to sort of just take the time to sort of see everything. Like you obviously don't have to rush and just sort of try and get everything in within a day, which you can do, like if you know where you are and you've been in before and you know what you're doing. But I think the biggest thing for me, like having done this for 5-6 years now, is try something new. There's always going to be something that is something you've not seen before or not had the chance to try. Like for me recently, I'm getting into more tabletop and D&D and seeing how big like the D&D stuff has gone.
I heard he really loves roleplay. Yeah, really loves roleplay.
It's my secret. My secret shame.
Don't be ashamed.
I saw the nurse outfit in the cupboard one time. I'm like, oh my.
I told you to keep that a quiet secret. But, like even, having watched more Dimension 20 and started playing Baldur's Gate 3 and seeing how all that sort of has really sort of gripped me and a lot of other people, it's really become a big thing now. Like you go past like the wall into the vendors, and there's just dice and cards and booklets and things, and that revenue opportunity. No, it's an opportunity to try new things and go a little bit out of your comfort zone. And even for me, like you nailed it with the sort of talk about, you know, the bigger devs obviously coming back, and it's great to see, but like I'm in the same boat. Like I wouldn't want to line up for 2.5 hours to play 10 minutes of Mario Wonder, even though it looks great, but it's just not something that I want to do when, like you said, it comes out in 2 weeks. So for me, it's about sort of finding my friends and trying something new and just making sure that you're getting the most out of your money and making sure that you come away with it with something that you didn't expect to be doing. Like, you know, having sat down for a game of Carcassonne or playing something that is just completely out of left field for you. And, you know, it might be the VR that's huge now in the VR free play and that sort of thing. So I think just trying something new and making sure that you're getting the most out of your time.
I agree. I think the best thing that you said, and I had in my head preloaded before you said it anyway, is like, don't be afraid to be uncomfortable. Like, try new things, step out of your comfort zone. Like, I know we keep hammering on Super Mario Wonder, and we don't mean to do that by any stretch of the imagination.
We love Nintendo here.
But Nintendo is the biggest exhibitor here. And it's a great game, and I can't wait to play it on my Switch, don't get me wrong. But I love going through the indie showcase section and just taking my time to look at every single booth. And even though at first you might see that first landing page of the game and go, that's a bit weird, or that's not my usual thing, but just stand there for a couple of minutes, watch the gameplay, watch the trailer, see if it resonates in a way, and then don't be afraid to step up and give it a try. Like, worst case, you waste 10 minutes and it's not for you, but best case, you could find your new favorite game, your new favorite studio. So don't be afraid to jump in to the deep end early and often when you see these demos being available, because it's their lifeblood. And if they're not getting eyes on their products, that product might never release, that studio might never continue to exist after this PAX. So there's a lot of financial and time-based investment from people both big and small and in between. So jump in, play the games, ask the questions. Like, if you're playing a game and you're really liking a mechanic or not liking a mechanic, or if you're in the tabletop or role-play area and you don't understand a rule, or you don't understand why this piece looks this way, ask the people that are on the show floor, because a lot of the time they're the ones building this stuff. They take that feedback, they can go away, build it up better based off that feedback, and release a more superior product. So don't be afraid to ask questions and provide feedback. You know, you can be critical with your feedback, but just make sure it's not just, nah, mate, this is shit, I'm not going to play it. To be like, you know, nah, mate, this is shit because of X, Y, Z. Maybe you could think of changing it because then it'll be a better experience because of blah.
Yeah, even then, like, I went and saw a game called Footy Bash that was being...
play Footy Bash.
Being broadcast, I guess, over at the Indies. And obviously, if you're a big fan of AFL, like, it's going to be right up your alley. There's a lot of links to, like, Super Blood Hockey and NBA Jam with a sort of, like, wild style to it. And there's a couple of things like that. I talked to the devs, like, it would be great if there was a kick cursor when you could see where the ball was going to, you know, watch the trajectory and get a better idea of when to mark and things like that. And they said, look, we've taken all that stuff on board. Some of it worked well, some of it didn't. And they're going to try and bring some of that sort of stuff into like a full release when they release it in, you know, round 1 next year for AFL time. And just hearing those sorts of ideas and how they're going to try and build and improve on it. Like, this is crucial for even like that team is only maybe like 3 or 4 people here at the show, and there's probably maybe only a couple others in the dev team. So these teams can be, you know, 50 people big. They could be 5 people big. But any sort of crucial feedback that they get, like, it's going to make it a better experience for them and for other people in the long run. Exactly.
I think just keep an open mind with everything you do, everyone you see, and don't be afraid to... You know, if you see games and you want to take a photo, ask beforehand or film some video as far as your playthrough. Just make sure you're getting approvals and consent from game devs, from cosplayers and things like that too, especially if you're wanting to get a photo. Be friendly, go up and ask them. Don't assume that they know who you are. Don't assume that it's fine to be able to just hug them and touch people or touch product. Like, always ask for permission as opposed to asking for forgiveness after doing the wrong thing. So just be respectful of your surroundings and your people always, and just have a good time. Like, yeah, just get uncomfortable, get into unfamiliar areas. Like, the video game section is awesome, and we've already touched on some of the cool things you can do, but yeah, get off the beaten track, get into tabletop, get into the free play area. There's so many great games and platforms from yesteryear, or very niche consoles, or very niche titles you might never heard of.
I love the retro area. It's always a good bit of fun every year, like mucking around on Kid Pix on an iMac or playing like an Amtrak, and just this sort of stuff that I would have never touched had I not gone to a PAX and even really bothered to sort of look. So there's always like something to find.
For sure. Like, you can play your Xbox, your PlayStation, your Switch anytime, any day. Where here, there's so many things that are outside your usual scope that are just dying to be interacted with and discovered, even if it is a decade or two old. So yeah, take the time to play the old things, talk to everybody on the show floor, and just be respectful in those discussions, and just have a good old time, right, Matty?
Yeah.
And I think the last thing we need to like talk about what's in the hall here, but then also panelists. So being part of the panels, and the theatre works and stuff like that. I think that was the other part that I think a lot of people miss is not walking that next section and hitting the theatres. Like, there's so many panels on. There's a whole schedule of things, and you mentioned the stuff going through to 11 o'clock at night. So I went to one last night, which was part of the generosity show there.
Good bunch of people. Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah. So they're sort of tucked away over in the Wombat Theatre over there, but so went to see Shanty's last night, and it's like check the timetable, see what's happening, talk to people, because if they're experienced people, they'll be like, oh, check this out, this is always worth seeing. You can get that information, especially if it's your first time. Talk to people, ask people. We mentioned the enforcers before, ask them as well. Like, just a lot of those, like a lot of them actually won on the drive here the other morning. We get off the tram, and we recognised his hair from previous shows, and I was like, we're here. This is it. PAX is on. This guy is an icon part of the team here. And that's ask them. The majority of them have done it quite a number of times, so they're going to know the places to check out. They're going to have like suggestions and stuff. Definitely check out. Like, obviously, I'm coming from a brand perspective. So you're going to check out this hall here. So much more going on around here. And the social aspect as well. Like, as you said, the beers afterwards, and your beverages afterwards, whatever your social hangouts afterwards are just as a massive part of what PAX is than just the exhibition.
Yeah, the exhibition hall is your start point, and then you choose your own adventure from there. And the great thing is, as well, there's a really handy PAX app where you can build out your scheduling, and you can sort of start saving, okay, I'm going to go to this panel at 10. Then you can, put a text note in there. I'm going to then go swing by the Audio Technica booth to check out the best audio-based equipment on the show floor here. Then I'm going to go play something over at Nintendo.
He's a pro.
So you can sort of plan your day and night out accordingly, but just make sure you also plan some time to rest, recover, reset, because they're big days. That can lead to big nights and then very sore mornings the next day. So just be sure not to sort of bite off more than you can chew, and don't be afraid to ask for help or ask for advice or guidance, like Matt said, regarding talking to an enforcer, talking to a PAX representative, talking to the exhibitors on the show floor. They're here to help you and make your experience better. So don't be afraid to ask the question, no matter how silly you think that question might be.
Because I think that's the thing. At the end of the day, we're all kind of here for the same thing. Like, cool, we might be selling some stuff here, but like, we also want to just be part of the vibe. Like, we're all here for the same goal. We just kind of want to have fun, celebrate the social aspect, celebrate this community. And I think that's sort of where I think sometimes it gets a bit muddled and stuff, but realistically everyone's kind of on the same page.
We're all here together. It's all about togetherness. It's all about community. It's all about having a good time. So just whatever is needed to have yourself a good time, it will happen. So, I guess just being mindful of time and being respectful of people's time, we might look at saying this could be the stop point here for THG 336. Matt, looking at both you beautiful bastards, I want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedules to riff here on the fantastic AT2040 XLR-based microphones, audio-technica.com, or if you can hear me on the speakers outside on the show floor, they're doing a sweet discounted price on the 2040. So upgrade your content creation game right now by getting a 2040 because the price point combined with that audio quality is second to none. But listeners, you can obviously find us as a whole at We're 8-Bit. You can find me at Brendan 8-Bit. You can find Matt Tilby at It's Tilby. And you might be able to find other Matt here next year or at the next great event. Or maybe you might see him cycling around and just being a bad mother because he's one of those in all the right ways. But boys, anything you want to say before we close this podcast down for another week?
All good, mate. Thank you for the time. Thank you for having us here. Thank you for joining me here on the weekend.
I wouldn't have it any other way.
I think it's just been great to see everyone's face. It's been a yet another awesome PAX weekend, and obviously going to be back in the chair next week for regular scheduled content on the Hungry Gamers.
That's it. So yeah, THE 337 will be coming at you next week. Normal sort of flow, normal sort of structure. But now I thought, we'd do a little bit of a PAX recap done different. So hopefully listeners, you were informed, entertained, maybe educated in a various degree. But until next time, listeners, much love.
And stay hungry.
I'll see you around.